Right then, hold on. It's time for my next special guest, and we're inviting him on. Been waiting a while for this one, but we finally got him on. We have upcoming artist Lee Rogers talking to me about his exciting new releases and present album Gameblood. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Danny. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you? How are you keeping during these kind of post-COVID times?
Not too bad. I'm only back from the US tour on Saturday past, so I'm still trying to find my feet back at home again after nearly 5 weeks away. Um, yeah. So you kind of come back into the home space, and everything's a bit different. And, I'm coming in on untidy and things, and my wife's going, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you?" So it's a bit trying to find my levels here. But post COVID wise. Yeah, I mean it's been a strange couple of years, Danny, hasn't it?
Yeah, sure. And you have had released quite a string of new singles out, but I'm going to talk more about your album, Game Blood, very shortly. But I just wanted to first ask, growing up where you are from, has music always been influence in your family and surroundings?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up during the Northern Ireland Troubles, which was a bit of a looking back, it was normality for us as kids growing up here during those times. But looking back now, you wouldn't wish your own kids to kind of witness a lot of what happened here. So music was a bit of an escape, Danny. My mother and father were into their music in a quite a big way. My dad, I grew up with an earful of Bob Seger, Bruce Springsteen. My mum, then it was the Beatles and stuff like that. So yeah, for me, instead of going down a bad path, I picked up a guitar and I started playing music instead. So yeah.
And it's got you where you are today.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was, 15 years ago, whenever I did the first record, we were on the cusp of something really good with that. And unfortunately for us, a bank scandal kind of pulled the carpet from underneath us and left us all a bit high and dry. So this is me back around for the second time, fresh as paint, and enjoying writing new music and playing in front of new audiences.
Great. And in my hand now, I've got a copy of your album, Game Blood,
Ah,
and
yeah,
includes singles Everytime, which is the opening
mm,
track, and
yeah,
we have The House and Life and Lies as well. On this
yeah.
album, how would you describe your sounds? Is it kind of the same sound that you usually compose?
Yeah, well, you know what, Danny. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know the critics who are reviewing the album at the minute are having a bit of a thing in their head. They're trying to get around the fact that I would kind of jump from genre to genre. So, so on that album there, there's influences there that are folk. There's influences that are rock. There's influences that are Americana. There's influences that are blues, and you can hear it all on it. So I mean, it doesn't have a single thread all the way through it. But I quite like doing that with anything that I do, because I do enjoy so many different types of genres. And then I leave it to the producer to kind of pull it all into the one bracket. Yeah, so I mean, I did it with the previous recordings. I assume you've done it here again without realizing. But yeah.
So it's fair to say there's something on the album for everyone.
Say that again, buddy. Sorry.
Is it fair to say there's something on the album for everyone? A bit of both,
I
bit of
think
each.
I think so. I think so. I like to think so anyway. There's a wee bit of everything. There's a bit of sort of pop tainted things. There's blues. There's a bit of everything there, Danny.
And what I like about the album, which sprung to mind, it's a paper a covering sleeve, as opposed to the usual hard cover
Yeah,
cases you get on CDs, which is good. Nicely fits in your pocket as well,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
cuts down on the environment as well, which is good. And also, I'm going
Absolutely.
to mention the artwork as well. Game Blood, has it had any kind of connection with video gaming? Like Resident Evil?
No,
No.
no. Game Blood. I mean, I've been asked that question before. Game Blood for me is my father. He's gone now. God rest him. He was a tough out fella. As hard as the ground he walked on, really. And he had this thing, that he was just game for anything, up for anything. He's like an old gypsy type guy. And he was up for everything. So Game Blood kind of came from him. It's probably a bit what would you call it, like sort of that macho vibe, you know what I mean? But it came from him. He was a tough guy, but he had the softest heart for like me and my mum and stuff like that, and as kids. And yeah, so it kind of leaned into that a bit with this, because I think that the album for itself is a journey through my life, which indirectly comes from him. You know what I mean? So yeah, so there's stories there for that. You know, that's what it relates to.
And your track "Haunted" and the house.
Yeah.
Have you had any spiritual encounters of that kind?
You know, that's an interesting question. I've had quite a few encounters over the years. There's nothing that I would really feel overly comfortable talking about, to be honest, at the minute. You know what I mean? But "Haunted" is actually a song that we had decided to. Me and my wife had. I had this. You know, I'm haunted. I had that sitting there. The key phrases and that. What happened was that I asked my wife, "What do you think this is? Where do you hear this?" And my wife, as you can see behind me, is a massive reader. You know. And she thought it was it kind of had that Wuthering Heights kind of vibe, you know what I mean? The Bronte book, you know. And so we leaned into that story a wee bit, and I kind of came out of it thinking to myself that I had did the opposite then of what Kate Bush had done with her song Wuthering Heights. She did it from Kathy's point of view. I then wrote this here from Heathcliff's point of view, you know. So that was where Haunted came from. The song The House itself was just me running through a bunch of memories of my childhood home. And everything that kind of conjures up in my head, you know, the smell of coal, smoke, and everything else, you know.
Yeah. Also, just wanted to ask, you got a collaboration with Foy Vance, who you just come off a US tour with. Barefoot in the Basement as well. That's the last one on the track.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite songs. Barefoot in the Basement is about this beautiful person that we both knew very well. I mean, I've known Foy 24 years now, you know. And we both had a lot of common friends and people who were in our lives. And this one person in particular, she had this vintage store called Barefoot in the Basement. It was all old clothes and stuff, and that's where she loved all that, you know. So I had this kind of run of chords and a bit of a melody, and him and I sat on Zoom together one day for like half an hour, and the whole song was just there. So we decided to record it for this, and he was kind enough to duet on it as well, which is great.
And am I right? He is signed to one of the Ed Sheeran's branch labels, Gingerbread Man.
Yeah. I think so. I think that's where he's at. Yeah.
And on this album, you were collaborated with Gareth Dunlop as well.
Yeah, me and Gareth would be close. We're close. You know, I speak to Gareth most days. Gareth produced the record for me and co-wrote a couple of songs and stuff as well. There's a lot other stuff that we have sitting there in the pipeline to come out in the next sort of couple of years. But this is what we ended up putting together for Gameblood. Gareth's a great kid.
Cool. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him. Absolute top guy. Just a couple more questions. You know, you just mentioned you come on tour. What's the feeling like? You know, when you come from a long flight, you're touching down, you're come back to your home city, and you see your family and friends. What's that feeling like?
There's nothing. I mean, it's kind of strange. The first week that you're out there, you know, and it's a long time, and it's a lot of dates, and it's a lot of cities. When the first week that you're out there, you really can't see the end. You can't see where this ends. You know, you can't kind of get it in your head that someday, you know, not too far from now, you're going to be going home. So you get yourself into a place where you just get comfortable with that feeling. Whenever you touch down, and I mean, like I touched down at Belfast City Airport, and my kid Isaac, he just charged across the tarmac to me. You know what I mean? And there's just no feeling on the planet like that, man. You can't do it. But at this stage of the game, for me, everything that I'm doing is for him. It's for his future. You know, it's not for me anymore. You know.
And finally, for people who want to keep up to date with your work and progress and any music releases updates, you got a website. Would you like to just tell my listener what that website is?
It's leerogers.co.uk. And you can find anything that you need to find out about me on there, and links to everywhere. You know, usual all singing, all dancing. You know.
Yeah, brilliant. And shall we play one of your tracks from the album? Shall we go with the last one, since you said it was your favourite, "Barefoot in the Basement"? Would you like to introduce that on the show?
Hi guys, this is Lee Rogers, and you're about to listen to the last song of my Gameblood album. It's called "Barefoot in the Basement" with Foy Vance.